Hi again. John Karel von Baalen dealing with Mormonism. Now we're on page 190 of his chapter on that subject. Here he's dealing with the history of Mormonism. The Mormon prophet, Joseph Smith Jr., was born on December 23rd, 1805, in Sharon, Vermont. He was reared in ignorance, poverty, and superstition. Moreover, he was indolent in his youth. However, quite in keeping with the superstitious atmosphere in which he breathed, he claimed to have visions and divine revelations as early as 1820 and 1823. In the latter year, the angel Moroni revealed to him the spot where golden plates lay buried containing the history of ancient America in reformed Egyptian characters. Smith undoubtedly meant characters, but he spelled it wrong. He had never known enough grammar for it to be eclipsed by divine revelation, hence he made occasional grammatical and spelling errors. In 1830, Joe, as he was known, organized the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at Fayette, New York. This he accomplished after having convinced a few friends that his translation of the golden plates, afterward duly returned into the hands of the angel Moroni, had been done, not as it was maliciously slandered, with the aid of a peepstone in a hat, but with the assistance of the proper Urim and Thummim, which the obliging angel had provided. The plates are stated to have been hidden in the earth from the year 420 of our era until September 22nd, 1823, when Joe Smith discovered them in the hill Cumorah. And yet the Book of Mormon, being a faithful rendering of the said plates, gives extensive quotations from the Bible in the King James Version, that is 1611. It contains modern phrases and ideas that could not have been known to its supposed author in AD 420. It puts the words of Jesus, though often twisted, into the mouths of men alleged to have lived centuries before Christ. It was not only written in a poor imitation of biblical style, it also undermines the Bible by declaring it insufficient, by adding to and changing many biblical passages, by divine revelation. For such reasons as these, it could hardly have been revealed by an angel. Its story of the ancient inhabitants of America, the supposed ancestors of the Latter-day Saints, contains 12 historical errors. The Book of Mormon is officially recognized by both branches of Mormonism as of equal authority with the Bible, and practically receives honor far beyond the Bible. But there is an abundance of incontestable evidence that the origin of the Book of Mormon must be sought in Solomon Spaulding's unpublished and stolen novel, The Manuscript Found. The Mormons try to obliterate this evidence by referring to another manuscript, the Manuscript Story, by the same Spaulding. They prove that the Book of Mormon is not a copy of the latter manuscript. The unknowing are thus convinced that Joseph Smith did not copy from the Spaulding manuscript, but the real argument that the Golden Bible is the work of copying and embellishing by Rigdon and Smith remains unanswered. In June 1831, a revelation commanded the saints to settle in Missouri, the land of Zion. Kirkland, Ohio, and Zion, Missouri now become headquarters of the movement. But for some pagan reason or another, the Gentile neighbors did not trust the Mormons and accused them of various crimes. The saints did not hesitate to denounce the Gentiles as enemies of the Lord. When the Safety Bank at Kirkland, a Mormon enterprise, failed in 1838, Smith and his friend, Signy Rigdon, fled to Missouri. From Missouri, they were driven away by order of Governor Boggs in 1839. Finding a welcome in Illinois, they erected the city Nauvoo. Here our prophet made his biggest display, announcing himself, among other feats, candidate for the presidency of the United States. Accused of gross immorality and counterfeiting, sheltering criminals in the act of fleeing from justice and other misdeeds, Smith was arrested, but a mob stormed the jail and shot to death both Prophet Joseph and his brother Hiram. This was rather unfortunate for the anti-Mormon cause, since the prophet now became a martyr. When his indictment was in sight and the movement might have died a natural death, hot-headed men with a just grievance killed their cause by immortalizing their opponent and giving his followers a supposed occasion for seeking revenge upon the wicked inhabitants of Gentile America and their descendants. Brigham Young came from England, where he had been proselytizing, and by the force of his personality put several rivals out of commission. He became the recognized leader of the large majority of Mormons. Young was a strong man. With only 11 days of formal schooling, he went far in this world and became a statesman and leader of no mean proportions. With the simple faith of an uneducated mind, Young believed in Joseph Smith and remained true to the prophet all his life. Brigham Young led the thousands of disciples amid untold sufferings until, in July 1847, they reached Utah, which was then unoccupied Mexican territory. Young did not know himself whither the long trek was. Now and then he would say, "I will know the place when I see it." When the outposts of the travelers reached Salt Lake, he announced his one and only revelation, to wit, the Lord had revealed to him that here would be the place where the saints would be free from Gentile American persecution. The story of Brigham Young and the next generations of Mormons next time. This time I'll put in a link to our Adventism playlist. It's, to me, no coincidence that during the same 1830s, 1840s, 1850s era, all the great cults get started, at least in germ form. And of course, there's no sign at the time that they're going to become a major problem among American religions in the next century. Indeed, they're all going to become worldwide religions in the next century. See you next time.